Before I begin, this report is going to be super long because it documents the past few agonizing years addicted to this. I also want to say a few things about Kratom that you need to know. Kratom is definitely a dangerous drug that gets you high. No, it's not dangerous like oxys, perks, or whatever kind of hard drug is out there. It's dangerous in the sense of its subtlety. You wouldn't expect a legal drug that you can buy at a head shop to be this controlling over your everyday life. I'm not saying that you will get addicted like me, but there's definitely a possibility, and I'm writing this story in hopes to keep you away from this devil of a drug. Another thing I have to say is that there's a common misconception that Kratom doesn't get you high, that it's just a mood boost or even nothing at all. Now that might be true for some people, but for me, I could definitely feel the euphoria and stimulation. If you take high doses like me, you will feel high, trust me. I'm high as fuck right now typing this. There are also people who can get hepatotoxicity from it. Usually you would know if you had this if it happens right after you start. Jaundice is the main thing you will notice appearance-wise if this were to happen to you. Luckily, this hasn't happened to me yet and doesn't really happen to that many people. I think people are afraid of this phenomenon because there are a lot of stories on the internet of people describing how they got hepatotoxicity from Kratom. The reason behind this, in my opinion, is because what happened to them is so crazy that they need to make sure all of the internet needs to know. That's just what I believe. The last thing I want to say about Kratom is something positive. I think Kratom can be very beneficial to people who are going through opioid, alcohol, or benzo withdrawal. I think it can help you get off of that much more dangerous substance and put you on something that is still bad, but not nearly as bad as those. The risk in that, though, is that if you were addicted to the previous substance, you will 100% be addicted to Kratom. Like I said, though, out of those four, Kratom is the least harmful. So the only reason I would recommend this drug would be for people already suffering through horrible addictions and withdrawals. I've read lots of stories of opioid addicts switching to Kratom and it being a lifesaver for them. Now that I've explained my views on the substance, let me take you on a journey through my ongoing abusive relationship with Kratom. Before I talk about how I got to using it, I want to tell you what or who influenced me to do it in the first place. I had a friend in high school who I'm no longer friends with, and I'm glad I'm not. He was addicted to Kratom and we were all doing drugs at that time, so I wasn't really concerned with his use. Come to think of it now, though, I'm probably more addicted than he ever was. I remember in one of the classes I had with him, he would bring a bottle of water and put a shit ton of Kratom powder in it, mix it up, and then drink it. Ugh, so nasty, the taste was awful. No one questioned him drinking a green liquid because he was a health nut vegan who would lie and say it was spirulina if anyone asked. I was never interested in taking it after watching him drink those disgusting green waters, but one day we were at a head shop and he was going to buy some. I said fuck it and I'll try it. He was super excited that I wanted to try the Kratom, but looking back now, if he was anything close to a good friend, he should have said no. I remember the Kratom clear as day. It was a tiny bottle with 15 capsules inside. It was pretty expensive too, but it was not an extract. I think it was just more potent than normal Kratom. He gave me 7 and he took 8. I was so excited to be high and see what he was raving about this whole time. We were hanging out for a little while after this and I wasn't feeling anything, so I called BS on his claims. But then, I went home and I immediately felt it. I was so stimulated and euphoric, it almost felt like an Adderall. When I laid down on my bed, I felt so good and I knew I wanted to do this again. Since I'm already dragging the story along, I'll just skip ahead to how I got to the level I'm at today. So basically, the first time I tried Kratom that I described previously was in 2017. I didn't really use Kratom that much up until 2019. I would take it 2 to 3 times a week, and I used it only for when I was going out or going somewhere I didn't feel like going. I do remember one time I took Kratom before I went to my girlfriend's house and decided to take 10 grams of it, and my regular dosage, mind you, was 5 to 6 grams. I was so messed up at her house and it was so hard for me to hide it, but I did. I was shaking, my vision was wobbling so bad, and I had major anxiety. Trying to talk to her dad was like speaking in front of thousands of people in an audience. I was that nervous. Luckily though, it wore off in a couple of hours and I was dressed nice. So hey, people who take drugs don't dress nice. Sarcasm. Skipping to the summer of 2019 is when the repeated use took place. I have a tiresome job and wanted the day to be more fun. I decided I would take Kratom halfway through my day to get me through the last couple of hours. Honestly, remembering this moment of my Kratom addiction makes me really sad because at this point I wasn't balls deep into abuse. I was just taking around 7 to 8 grams once a day. To some people that might seem like a lot already, but compared to what I'm going to tell you later, it's nothing. I basically did this routine every day until one time I decided to take a second dose to finish off the day and take the first dose earlier. It was the same dosage, but just doing it one more time. This decision was the one I regret the most out of all the other decisions I've made during this time. This is also around the time I started getting panic attacks. I'm not sure if Kratom had anything to do with it because I was also drinking shitloads of caffeine too. I would doubt it if it wasn't at least 35% why I suffered these attacks. I did the 2-dose-a-day routine for months, and for the first time in this whole experience, I knew I had a problem. I remember stopping cold turkey for a week and some change. I did not feel bad physically, but mentally I wanted it so bad. When I stopped taking it, I had an urge just to feel something, anything. I bought a Juul just to try and get a buzz, and I never smoke whatsoever. I bought those energy boosters that come in a 4-pack at the gas station, and boy, did my anxiety skyrocket. I got a panic attack from doing this and didn't take those pills again for a while. My dumbass still never learns though, as I have done these pills probably around 10 more times since then, and most of the time I get a panic attack and pray that I don't die. It's going to be hard to believe this next part, but believe me, it's very true. The feeling of nothing was draining me, so I resorted to taking a couple Advils to relieve my cravings of euphoria. As you may have guessed, I didn't feel shit and was just suffering. To my surprise though, around the end of that Kratomless week, I was fine. I didn't have a desire to be high or take Kratom, but something changed on that last day. Up until now, this was the closest I have ever come to stopping Kratom, but as you can tell, there's still more to this depressing story. I wanted to do Kratom and told myself that I was just gonna buy it one more time and be done with it. Well, I bought the 5-pack of the OPMS Gold Extract pills from a head shop and took one. When it kicked in, I felt so fucking good and knew that my habit was going to continue no matter what I told myself. I went back to 2 doses a day for a period of my life, and since then I have stopped taking Kratom about 3 times. One time was for 3 days, and the last 2 times were for a little over a day, so yeah, I pretty much haven't stopped since then. It really only goes downhill from here, but the worst part of my Kratom addiction happened in late 2020 to 2021. I apparently thought that 2 doses wasn't enough, so I started taking 3. Yep, you heard that right, 3 doses a day. I also raised the dosages to 9 grams each dose. So during this extended period of time, I was doing 27 fucking grams a day. Sometimes more, sometimes less. I don't know what urged me to do this, but I did it. I would dose before I got to work, halfway through the day, and then near the end of my workday so I'd be a little high at home. I was also scarfing these capsules down with Bangs, the energy drink with 300 milligrams of caffeine. I would drink 1 Bang for my first dose and 1 Bang for my last dose. I still can't believe I did that shit. There were also some days where I would take the normal dose in the morning and then take like 3 to 4 more grams 45 minutes after. Please, don't be like me. When I was doing these large doses of Kratom each day, my anxiety started skyrocketing. I never had anxiety in high school. I was carefree and didn't really give a fuck about anything. Now though, I was a worried and stressed mess of a person. Basically at this point, I was just taking Kratom to not only feel high, but feel normal. I felt like I needed to take Kratom to get through a day of work, and I never missed a dose to achieve this normalcy. I hope people who are listening to this understand that I never intended to do Kratom daily like this, but it slowly crept its way into my soul and mind and took control of it. Another thing I want to add is that my tolerance has pretty much stayed stagnant. I can do 8.5 grams and still feel stimulated. So even doing these large doses repeatedly never really raised my tolerance, unless you are comparing it to my first 2 years where I wasn't addicted. Anyways, I did 3 doses a day for months until I finally stopped taking that halfway through the day dose and only take it in the morning and late afternoon. It has been like that since then with some minor changes involved. I have no idea how I was able to cut down a dose, but I'm glad I did. The thought of doing 3 doses nowadays is so insane that I can't believe I used to be like that. So not only does this addiction take hold of your mind and spirit, but it also takes control of your wallet. Every couple of weeks, I go into a head shop to buy the 500 capsule Kratom bottle and also buy the OPMS Gold extract sometimes too. If you ever do Kratom and my story is somehow not deterring you away, please don't ever buy the extract. It is so powerful and costs so much money to keep up with. I have been taking them a lot more recently, and it costs $50 for 5 extract pills where I am located. To give a rough estimate as to how much I spend on Kratom yearly, it would have to be around $5,000. I'm not shitting you. It could be more or it could be less, but I would take the former. Since I haven't really described the effects, I will do so now. The peak of the Kratom high feels like your body got a little bit more numb, you are more sociable, in a better mood, and just everything becomes a little bit more alright in your life. I compare this addiction to a caffeine addiction. You're going to feel better after you ingest it, and this feeling of improvement will become necessary and your body will require you to take it every single day. You are activating the reward system in your brain from these substances, and that's why it's very hard to quit. Since becoming addicted to Kratom, there are many things that have happened to me, both physically and mentally. Physically, I'm very fatigued and tired all the time. That could be due to my job, but the Kratom doesn't help it. I also shake damn near all the time, and if I do the extracts, the shakes become more pronounced. I also see static and floaters in my vision, which can go back to my psychedelic use, but I feel like the Kratom is only making it worse. As long as I don't focus on it, I won't notice it. I'm not as worried about the physical detriments to my body as I am the mental ones. I have extreme anxiety, I don't like going out, I'm afraid to talk to women, and a lot of friends I have had have basically disappeared because I'm nervous to see them, and I also panic a lot and feel depressed most days. I feel like I am also just stuck in my own thoughts. These are bad thoughts too. Every time I think of something, it always ends up turning out negative. I'm not going to say I'm never in a good mood, but I'm definitely in this distressed state more than in a cheerful state. There is one positive thing to come out of all this though, and it's that I have a severe amount of empathy towards others. I try to help people in need and do whatever I can to make their lives better. If my life already sucks, I don't want others to feel the same pain as I do. This kind of empathy though is also a negative for me. I feel like since I know everyone else's pain, that I will never be happy again. The knowledge of the suffering of the human race and also innocent animals terrorizes me daily, knowing that I can only do so much. I'm not saying I'm a good person either. I still make mistakes and do bad things, so don't get it twisted. Sometimes when I talk to people, I'll start stuttering my words because I'm already thinking of the next sentence I'm going to say, so the words jumble into each other and it comes out as a stutter. I have also noticed I have weird tics where I grab my chin and scratch my head when talking to someone, usually when it's a question. When I notice this, I immediately stop. My old counselor, who I don't visit anymore, noticed this about me and made me paranoid about it ever since. Yeah, thanks a lot. People have also told me I'm very funny and calm. I can only be funny because of the torment my mind goes through on a daily basis. That's why, if you haven't noticed, comedians are more likely to kill themselves. Just look it up and you'll see it happens quite frequently. I wouldn't say I'm suicidal, but I've definitely thought about it a couple times. Whether that's just crashing into the median on the freeway or shooting myself. I can't say I would ever actually do this, but I've never gotten to the point of it being even close to doing those things. There is not one person that knows I am addicted to Kratom. People know I have taken it before, but they do not know anything past that, like the extent and frequency of my use. It is very easy to hide that you're on it because it's not going to fuck you up like a strong opioid or stimulant will. It gives you a mix of both that balances the two to create a normal person. People who see me daily think that's the real me. No, that's the Kratom-induced sack of animated limbs. Currently, I'd say I can manage the doses better. I still do a lot, but I can wait to do a dose. Unfortunately, I still have to do 2, but before, I had to do it at a specific time. There is still the lingering problem of it being on my mind before I take it. For example, before my second dose, I'm pretty much always thinking of Kratom up until I do it. I wait until my lunch is digested and my stomach is more empty, because empty stomachs do make a difference. Although, over the summer I was super high from taking and eating breakfast after. I did take an extract though, so that could be why. The anxiety nowadays has gone down a little, and same with the depression, but I'm prescribed medication, so I'm sure that's helping. I do not drink or do any other drugs, so I guess that's one thing to be happy about. I forgot to add to that period of time I was doing 3 doses in a day, I was also drinking quite frequently. Somehow though, I feel worse than back then. Maybe I don't, as it's hard to go back in time to see how I felt. I'm hoping that all these mental and physical symptoms go away if I stop taking Kratom, because it's getting to the point of being unbearable. I wish I could talk to a close friend about what's going on inside my head and the insufferable addiction I'm going through. I'm just so embarrassed to tell someone. It's not like weed or alcohol where it's normal in society to be addicted to those substances. Yes, people who smoke every day are addicted. I do not care what you have to say. Kratom, on the other hand, is not really well known with normal people in society, and the people that do know what it is think it's K2 or some shit, which it's not even close to. My short-term goal with this addiction is cutting it down to 1 dose a day and cutting out all the extracts. The bad part about the extract is that I can afford it. I mean, it's great that I'm financially stable, but I hate how much I love those things. The long-term goal I have, obviously, is stop taking it completely. I really don't know how long that will take or if it will even happen at all. I just know something has to happen in my life to deter me away from it forever. Even if I do stop, am I going to end up back on it? I hope that my mind will trample this stupid fucking addiction once and for all, and I will go back to living a normal life without the satanic substance. I can't even recall what it was like before this took over my life. I'd say that Kratom has definitely ruined my life. I know that I'm still young and have room for improvement, but the future looks completely bleak in regards to Kratom use. Until I go months without taking a single Kratom capsule, I will not be satisfied with my life. Even if I stop taking it for months, there is still a chance I will be super stressed, mad, or whatever feeling that makes me want to escape that reality for just a short period of time. I hope none of you think this story is bullshit and can't happen because it's Kratom. It's 100% true, and I want you all to take what I have to say to heart because I don't want anyone to experience the horrors that I'm going through. How Kratom fools you is its subtlety. You may not realize you have a problem until it's too late, just like me. It's just like being an alcoholic, a caffeine addict, or even a food addict. Any kind of addiction is bad, some are worse than others though. You can still function normally on this and look as though you're clean, but in reality, you know you're not any better off than someone suffering from a worse addiction. You have the same problems as them, just not as severe. To end this journey I have taken you through, I just want to say that you should never take Kratom under any circumstances, unless you are going through a horrible opioid, benzo, or alcohol withdrawal. Those are seriously the only people I would recommend taking it. Even then though, if there is a way to combat your withdrawals or addictions with something else, please do that instead. If you are currently taking it but are just doing it occasionally, don't ever take more than that. If you can keep it under control like that, then it won't cause you that much harm, but you never know if it will lead to what I'm currently going through, or even worse. If you would have told me I was going to be addicted like this 4 years ago, I would have taken the crack you were smoking and take a hit of that shit because there's no way in hell someone could get addicted to this. Just please be careful, seriously, your life can be negatively changed forever.